Good morning, everyone. It's Jenny here with Lip Gloss and Aftershave, and we are about to be joined with Michael Pugliese from Circadia. So we all know and love Circadia, and if you have not had education from Michael Pugliese, you are in for it. So I'm just going to add him really quickly and get him in here. And you guys are about to talk about a summer safe treatment that will absolutely blow your mind. It is and one session just completely transformed her skin. So can't wait. Hello, Bear. Good morning. And Michael, everyone.
Hey, it worked. Hey, guys.
Hey, Michael.
Welcome to your first Instagram Live, Michael Pugliese.
First ever Instagram Live. This is incredible. I'm excited. Just this alone is a success. Getting on here with you guys.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Michael, we are beyond excited about this treatment. So I want to give everyone just a little bit of background.
Okay.
I know you guys are known for this treatment, but in my opinion, Circadia does not blow up this treatment as much as you should, because I'm like, I never see it. I never see people showing these amazing results. And I'm like, this needs to get out there. Because it's a summer safe treatment. So we can be doing this all summer long and providing these amazing results as we pull back from doing intense peels.
Yes.
And number two, I mean, let's get, I think you said it's 37 and above that this is a good treatment for. So that's our target clientele. So
it is.
Let's talk about the SWiCH treatment, Michael, and give us the insight.
Well, I know you'll have questions, and the SWiCH treatment, a lot of people don't know this about the SWiCH, but this was actually the first product that my grandfather developed when he founded Circadia as an alternative to some of the alpha hydroxy acids that were on the market. I mean, clearly at that time, we're talking mid-90s here, there was a lot of use of glycolic and other alpha hydroxys and overuse by many brands. So he recognized that there was this cumulative damage that was happening. And I mean, you throw in ascorbic acid and hydroquinone and a lot of ingredients that were cutting edge at the time, they provide results, but they were creating a significant amount of damage at the same time. So he started looking at other ingredients, bioactives that we could use that would have less of a destructive action to the skin and surface proteins. And what he landed on was basically the composition of the SWiCH. So this is, in its early phases, really the first product that he developed for the Circadia line that ultimately became, the brand that we all know and love today.
Amazing. Amazing. So I know that the science behind the SWiCH treatment, it relies a lot on ATP, right? And then oxygen. And it gets pretty complicated as to how this pyruvic and this succinic, am I saying that right?
Yeah, succinic acid.
Succinic acid work to create these amazing results without causing a ton of damage and exfoliation. So let's dive in.
Sure. So we have always marketed SWiCH as a no damage, no downtime chemical peel alternative. Now, clearly, we see the value in chemical peels. We use combinations of lactic and salicylic and mandelic acid, for exfoliation. But alpha and beta hydroxys, primarily in a peel treatment, are designed to break down surface protein. They're denaturing surface proteins for exfoliative purposes. The basal cells that are at the bottom part of the epidermis, they recognize that a portion of that structure is now gone, so it will accelerate cell turnover. So it's great for aging, great for pigmentation. So using alpha hydroxy acids controlled in a controlled way have great results for the skin. But again, if we're using them too much, sometimes we see some of that issue. What we're using with the SWiCH is, like you said, pyruvic and succinic acid. So pyruvate and succinate are two key metabolites that you find functioning in the Krebs cycle of the mitochondria. And this is the area where, of course, all ATP is produced as a part of cellular respiration. And ATP is the molecular currency that makes all cells function. In a mature skin and an aging skin, you mentioned 37, which is kind of the sweet spot where we start to see ATP really take a dive with cumulative damage and glycation and oxidative stress. That's when we start to see the SWiCH really take effect, because those cells need more energy. They just can't produce as much as they did, when people were in their teens and their 20s, and cell turnover cycles are really short. So essentially what we're seeing with the SWiCH is two acids that are bioactive markers that are functioning within the Krebs cycle that can help us to return damaged tired, dull skin that's not functioning as well at a mature age, back down to some of the levels where it was functioning at a much younger, a younger age, much more healthy skin.
Okay, so I don't even know.
Listen, we'll get deep into it. There's a lot to it. It's really, really an interesting treatment because, again, the pyruvic and succinic acid, they're alpha keto acids versus an alpha hydroxy. So these are biological acids that are already functioning within the body. I mean, and there's things like lactic acid, which is something that you find naturally in the body as well. But these are there to help the body function normally. It's something that the body makes already, so it's easily recognized. And there's no damage with these. It's not breaking apart proteins the way that alpha and beta hydroxy acids are designed to do. They're basically penetrating into the cell and helping to kickstart the system of the Krebs cycle, which is really everything that starts ATP production.
So that's why, so we showcased, anyone that's watching, if you go into the lip gloss and aftershave reels, and there's actually a before and after as well, you can see I did a treatment. I did one SWiCH treatment on a client, and I have to preface, she got an entire circadian enzyme treatment before, just to prep her skin to see where it was, because when you hear about the SWiCH treatment, Michael, even in one of your videos, you said she's going to feel some heat, and and Barry mentioned, he's like, if the creator of the skincare line is telling you that they're going to feel some heat, it's going to be warm. So I prepped her skin, got her ready, and I have to say the very first treatment, she didn't fly off, the table. She didn't freak out. It was warm, but as we've progressed with treatments, she's had 3, it's getting warmer. Now, is that because we're leaving it on longer? Is her skin, like, tell us what's happening there.
So it's a thermal response that you see from the acids penetrating, but SWiCH veterans that are users themselves and estheticians that have been using the product for years will tell you that it's really quick. So whereas a traditional peel, it gets a little warm and then it gets hotter and then it gets hotter and then it gets hotter. The SWiCH is like you're at a 9 pretty fast, and then it tapers off within a minute or 2. Agreed. So again, what we're seeing is those acids penetrating into the skin, being taken up by the cell, being used again for the purposes of ATP production, and it starts to taper. What your clients are experiencing is that, they're getting a little bit more heat, but at the same time, there's probably a little bit more exfoliation. You do need to exfoliate in between. So you're just getting the skin in a much better, healthy condition. So they may feel this, the application a little bit more by the second, third, fourth treatment. And you mentioned the first treatment. Everybody's skin looks great after the first one. Sometimes you can get a little, because it's a cell proliferator, you might get a little bit of purging. The redness sometimes lasts for a couple days, but usually by the second, third, fourth treatment, not only can you see, but we can actually measure what's happening in the skin. We can actually do, and we've done this many years ago, some punch biopsies just to take a look and see how that service is affecting the skin. And we see, again, heightened levels of epidermal proliferation. So you're going to get a compacting of the stratum corneum, which is a sign of young, healthy, vibrant, flexible stratum corneum. It reflects light well, so it looks better. You get a thicker, more cushy granular layer, right? So you can actually see on a slide the individual layers of the cells of the granular layer. And again, it's just pushing those cells from the bottom up. So when you have a heightened level of epidermal cell turnover, in a mature client that has a relatively flat basal layer, you're going to see a restoration of the dermal papillae and the ready pegs, which are those peaks and valleys. So that also helps to reduce shifting and movement along the dermal epidermal junction. So as we age, we start to see that cell turnover cycles get lower, which means that the basal layer flattens out a little bit, and it only adds to the aging, sagging appearance that you see from the skin. But this reduces that and then overall increases buoyancy to the skin and tensile strength. So it's an incredible service. I mean, you have to look at it and say, this is restoring energy back to cells that just don't have it anymore. They just don't have nearly as much as they used to. And the turnaround that you see in the function of the cells of the skin and then cumulatively how they work together, it's phenomenal.
It's remarkable. So I can visibly see on the example that we're using, specifically right in here, I mean, this is just lifting, but does it also target pigmentation? Like what else can you expect it to work on?
That's a really good question. So it does target pigmentation as a cell proliferator. So it's not going to reduce melanin function or melanocyte activity, right? The cells that make melanin or the melanocytes. We've talked about that with you before. It's not reducing that. It's not a tyrosinase inhibitor, but it's shortening the amount of time it takes for basal cells to divide and populate the rest of the epidermis, right? So if you have a thicker hyperkeratinized skin, that it takes 30, 35, maybe longer days in a mature client to go from the bottom up, and then you're adding something like the SWiCH or even other proliferators, and it's shortening the time back down to 25 days. There's just less time for the keratinocytes to be hanging out, accumulating pigmentation. So we do see a pretty dramatic effect in the reduction of pigmentation, but it's not per se designed to be a tyrosinase inhibitor or a skin lightener. Right. But we'll certainly see an improvement in that. Really, you see an improvement in all areas of aging skin. And of course, pigmentation, even though we kind of separate them into categories of, well, this is for aging skin, this is for pigmentation, most of the time they go hand in hand.
Right, right. Oh, such a great explanation. And we had a question pop in. How does it compare to a Hydrafacial?
That's a great question. So, I mean, when we look at a lot of the treatments, including Hydrafacial, many of the other services that Circadia offers, the great boosters that we have available, they're designed to do a lot of removal of surface protein. They're getting rid of what's at the top. So, of course, that's going to have a brightening effect. Again, it increases flexibility and reflectability of the skin, so it just looks better. This is a little bit different. I always tell people this is working from the inside out or from the bottom up. This is really designed to get cells that don't have the gas, the oomph that they used to get them back to a level where they're just a little bit healthier. And, the acronym Skin Wellness in Cellular Health, that's what SWiCH stands for. That's what we're targeting.
I didn't know that. I didn't.
Yes. Yeah, some people just say, do you know that SWiCH is spelled wrong? And we say, well, it's actually an acronym, but yes, we do know that it's not spelled with a T.
I assumed it had to mean something, but I love it.
Yeah.
Bear, you look like you had a question.
I did actually. So I did a lot of studying on this when we first started looking at it. God, how long ago, Jenny? Like months and months ago.
Yeah.
And the first step is something that opens the skin up so that the acids can penetrate. And so the thing that I thought that was the most interesting about this is that, normally we want the acids to work on the top of the skin to help slough off, to clean up and on the top. But this is actually creating pathways in the skin for the acids to go down into that lower level so that they can hit those basal cells. Isn't that how it works, Michael? Is that
yes,
like that?
Absolutely. And thank you for that excellent segue into discussing some of what's in the actual kit itself. So it has a cleansing step. Thank you. We have a cleansing step, which has a manual exfoliant. So people know and love us for our micro exfoliating honey cleanser. This is a little bit different. This is hydroxypropyl cellulose, which is another natural alternative to things like pumice and the polyethylene beads that used to be really prominent on the market. So it's certainly more rigid, but it's designed to, again, give a little bit of exfoliation. What you're talking about is the EpiPrep solution. Yeah. Right. And if you look at the skin as the brick and mortar type of concept, and the mortar is the spaces in between the cells, this helps with a little bit of breakdown of some of those lipids at the surface so that we can get the active SWiCH to penetrate. Again, the target is getting down towards those basal layer cells so those acids can actually be taken up into the mitochondria eventually. But it's the cellular SWiCH that contains the pyruvic and the succinic acid. So you have a cleansing step, you have a prep solution, which is anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and then you have the actives that are going to go on, and then they stay on until you do the follow-up portions of the treatment.
So Michael, I want to just tell anyone who's not familiar with this treatment, it's the SWiCH treatment from Circadia. It's probably one of the most simple treatments you'll do. I remember doing it, and I'm like, well, that's it. But yeah. You cleanse, you apply the prep treatment, and then you apply the SWiCH solution, which you leave on, and that's it. The most time-consuming part is that you have to leave the solutions on the skin. So you leave the prep solution on for at least 20 minutes, correct?
Yep, correct.
And then the second portion you leave on, and your client actually you never remove. So you guys talk about how they can leave once they're comfortable with how this feels and they've done a couple of the treatments, they can leave, and then they put the fraction 5 on 30 minutes after. So that doesn't have to come off. So the only thing about this treatment is the time that it takes. But once you get used to your client, and if they're comfortable leaving with it on, they can go on, and it could be about 45 minutes, maybe 30, 45 minutes.
Sure. So it's usually about 30 minutes after the SWiCH solution has been applied, right? You get that redness, you get the bloom, it's hot, and then it dissipates very quickly. Then you're applying the fraction 5, which is actually part of a home care. And we'll talk about what's in the kit here in just a minute, but you've got 10 fraction 5 and 10 vitamin veil, which is the vitamin veil cleanser that a lot of the clients already know. And then the fraction 5, which is really a moisturizer. It helps to keep some of the key benefits and the key activities that we get from the SWiCH, cellular SWiCH solution itself, working over the course of the next few days. It also has kind of a safety net, right? And this is getting a little bit more into the science of mitochondrial function. When the mitochondria is making ATP, it's also making free radicals, specifically one called superoxide. So superoxide is a byproduct of this production, but the body makes superoxide dismutase to keep that in check. Superoxide dismutase is a very common skincare ingredient. A lot of brands actually use it because they know that it's such a great free radical to help alleviate some of this, free radical that's being produced as a byproduct of all energy production. So we use a very specific source. It's actually regarded as the super antioxidant, and it's a biomimetic form of superoxide dismutase. I mean, just like in all cosmetic, not all ingredients are treated the same. You can have one ingredient that is on the label, and it's a very different source or different type of sourcing that you get, and they're just not all the same. But this one is highly refined and works incredibly well. So it's helping to continue the benefits of the SWiCH treatment, and it's helping to cut back on some of the negative impacts that you see of just energy production in general.
Okay. So
yeah, it gets even better, doesn't it, Jen? Every single time you learn something more, the science just never ends. That's why we were so excited about this. It's just been amazing.
I mean, it really is. This is a treatment that has stood the test of time. And I have a lot of people say, well, why don't you talk about it much? Why isn't there, more focus on it? We've always had great success. I mean, and as we've grown with you guys over the years. So you've seen, where we started and where we've ended up. But this is something that my grandfather mapped out many, many years ago as a really good physician's understanding of how the skin functions, the skin physiologist, really how it operates. So knowing the insight of exactly how to put this together and the precise percentage, it really is an incredible discovery on his part. But the reason why we don't promote it as much is that, we have a huge audience now. This is more for a very specific clientele. You mentioned the first treatment looks great, but it's a series. This is great for a lot of our, and I'll be frank, it's mostly our day spa operators, individual operators who have clientele that come regularly. They're very loyal clientele. It's not it's a resort type of guest that's coming in for a 2, 3 day, 5 day stay. Yeah. This is for people that have estheticians that their estheticians are taking care of their skin, right? Because you can get some purging. You can see some blemishing with this because when you have an increase in ATP production, you have an increase in cell turnover. The basal layer goes all the way underneath the hair bulb. So sometimes you get follicular desquamation inside the follicle, which creates congestion and what looks like acne, but it's the skin is purging. And, there's a lot of treatments that'll do that. Home care products like vitamin A are recognized for doing that, especially at high percentages. But it really takes somebody who has the patience and the time to work with a client. But like you said, the results are incredible. It takes time, but the results are fantastic. But better than anything else that we have, including chemical peels in our line for really an overhaul of health and function of the skin.
Overhaul. So this is definitely not that what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s, where everybody wanted that quick fix, like peel it, make it glow, look really beautiful. This is not that treatment. This is a treatment that the esthetician needs to have a strong relationship with the client. They need to have good communication skills. They need to be working with someone on a regular basis so that they can, A, get the treatments done, but also manage all of those byproducts. So I totally understand why you guys, have pushed and focused on other products, because you have such an amazing collection of masks and peels that they work across the board and everybody can focus on them. There's not in the world of resort spa, in the world of a lot of the day spas, a lot of times there's not a lot of communication with clients on a regular basis. So I totally understand why you guys sort of, pulled back from this. But if there's estheticians out there that have these types of relationships, this is an amazing treatment for them.
It's a no-brainer.
Like you said, Barry, it's like we said, we're talking about, it's a very specific targeted market for this. right now, our most popular service is the oxygen. I mean, we can barely keep it in stock right now. People are buying it because everybody's skin looks great afterwards. It's a deep pore cleanser. It gets rid of congestion. There's an exfoliative element to that. And clients can go to the spa. They can go from the spa to the beach, to the pool.
Mm-hmm.
They can go golfing right afterwards. Even though this is a no damage, no downtime, you want to stay out of the sun for a little while. So it's ideal for those estheticians that are, that want to focus on overhauling the skin, but want to focus on clinical type of treatments. And I just can't say enough about how great the results are if you do it consistently.
Consistency is key. And I know your team, when I came back and I'm like, one blew my mind, one treatment was amazing. And she's like, okay, we'll stick with it, because then we did two. And I was like, okay, skin still looks good. So I know that it's maintaining these amazing results. It's not like a one and done, and now she's going to just deplete right back to where she started.
Right.
So we're going to keep progressing. Now, what is really the sweet spot where you guys feel like we're at a great place? Is it 4 treatments? Is it a series of 6? I know the kit comes with 10.
Yes.
So how many do you recommend?
So we recommend a minimum of 6 treatments, but it's something interesting. And I mean, my grandfather, we talked about this treatment and the function, the activity of this treatment for years, because for a long time it was the staple before we started expanding into other products. I mean, this is in 2004, 2005. And sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought there for a moment. But again, it's best in a series. 12 is really the time where we start to see the benefit not peak out, but once we get to a 12 treatment marker of once a month, we usually take a break for about 3 months, right?
Okay.
And he used the analogy years ago of, and it's been a long time since I've repeated this, so bear with me, of, putting your foot on the gas when you're driving a car. You can only go so fast before you should take your foot off the brake, off the gas, give the engine a little bit of a break, and then you put your foot back down. So 12 months on, 3 months off, 12 months on. I have clients that, from the first day I started with Circadia and started working with them back in 2004, that have been doing that series, and their skin looks incredible. And I want to really hit on the fact that this is not an exfoliative treatment. This is not designed to exfoliate. These are not acids that are going to break down surface proteins, again, the way that alpha and beta hydroxys do. So you do need to incorporate some exfoliation, and that usually comes a couple weeks after the initial treatment. So a good protocol, and I know a lot of the clients that are probably watching this or will end up watching this know that you do the SWiCH treatment. 2 weeks later, you're going to do an enzyme, and the raspberry is ideal, again, because it has a lot of azelaic acid and it helps to address pigmentation. But you're doing the enzyme 2 weeks after the SWiCH. 2 weeks after the enzyme, they're coming back for their second treatment. So you're really seeing that client every 2 weeks. And a lot of our clients will build in the cost of that second visit into the first visit, right? So they don't feel like they're having to continuously go in their pocket for a type of maintenance. But the enzyme itself, that service usually lasts about 30 minutes if they're just coming in for an enzyme. Whereas the SWiCH, you mentioned there's some time that the product has to sit and become active on the skin. That's anywhere from an hour to an hour and 20 minutes for that particular service.
Okay. And Michael, the kit comes, so anyone that's just joining, we're getting a lot of comments down below. This is a professional only treatment that you can get typically in a day spa or a medical spa. And we're hosting these in a series of at least 10 treatments on a 4-week basis. Yep. And then you come in intermittently with the enzyme treatment in between. Right. And Michael, the kit also comes with home care that you send your client home with for each treatment, correct?
Right, and if I didn't articulate it well, it's been a while since I've done a presentation, so I'm a little rusty, but it's all coming back to me now. The Fraction 5, again, is that moisturizer. So that is what's going to help to continue the benefit of the SWiCH service itself and going to help to maintain the skin and reduce the superoxide production. But then you also have the vitamin veil. So you get 10 of each of these as part of the home care. You're applying the Fraction 5 for at least the first few treatments for the client in the treatment room. But after that third or fourth treatment, once you've got a good rapport and they know that step's coming, to cut some time off the treatment, you can give it to them and say, okay, now in 30 minutes, put on your Fraction 5 and put on a little SPF.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. Michael, do you, it's actually a two-parter. So you had mentioned that this treatment is really focused on the esthetician who is going to be working closely with her client or his client. So I would assume that there's probably not a specific home care protocol of other retail products from Circadia that you recommend. Most likely they're going to have to look at the specific needs of each client and select from your home care retail, right?
Well, actually, Barry, there is. So we developed two products several years ago to go in conjunction with our SWiCH. And one of the reasons why is that, you know, we're big believers in vitamin A. My grandfather in Pennsylvania itself here is a big part of the vitamin A story, how it came about. My grandfather was not only a good friend, but also a student of Dr. Kligman at the dermatology department when they started working on retinoic acid and the development of vitamin A topically for treating aging skin. So we know that really well. But what we were finding is that we were having some reactions with the SWiCH for our clients that were on high concentrations of ours or another vitamin A. And it's because they're both proliferators in their own right. So the SWiCH, again, is designed to increase energy production, which is going to push cells from the bottom up faster. But the vitamin A is a little bit different. Vitamin A kind of helps to it kind of force cell transcription in the basal layer, which is one of the reasons why if you use too high of a concentration straight off the bat without it, per the two of them together, create almost what's called a parakeratotic skin condition, where you have immature cells at the upper layers of the skin, and they have to be corneified. You need a certain amount of cornification at the surface because that's a protective layer. It helps to maintain the barrier. It helps to, you know, keep things that are supposed to be out of the skin out and keep the things that are in the body in, right? So too much proliferative action can actually be a problem. So we developed two products, the Revitacite and the Cytocalm, for our SWiCH clientele. So those, again, that are getting the treatments, now there's nothing that says that you have to do it. It just extends the overall benefits. And again, there's nothing that says you have to be on the Cytocalm and the Revitacite and be doing the SWiCH at the same time. It's just developed for that clientele. And again, it's helping to continue the benefits that you see from the SWiCH. It has collagen and elastin promoters that are in there, more, again, of the superoxide dismutase. So it's cutting down on the things that we know are causing oxidative stress that go hand in hand with the SWiCH.
That's perfect. Just as a side note, I'm watching comments come through, questions about ordering and things like that. We're going to lose all those comments after this goes from a live over to our IGTV. So if you could just DM all of those questions right to Circadia,
we will.
They have a team standing by who will help you get all those answers. Back to you, Jen.
Did you notice the question, Treen Spa and Wellness? Hello, my dear.
Hey, Treen.
She wants to know, Michael, why it's not recommended to treat the neck and the face in the same treatment.
For the SWiCH? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can treat face and neck and décolleté. It's really intense. It gets really hot. And some people will split that up a little bit. Again, you're at a 9-10 for a good minute, and then it dissipates. Some people stay red a little bit longer. Some it dissipates within an hour or two. But it's just for overall comfort. But there's nothing that says you can't do that. When it comes to chemical peels, there is some philosophy that you shouldn't do, say, for example, high concentration of resorcinol, face, neck, and décolleté, only because of the amount of that get absorbs into the skin. But it's okay to do face, neck, and décolleté with the SWiCH. I did also want to mention there, because I think I skipped over it quickly, is that even though this is not a peel, the skin will sometimes flake for a lot of clients. And not like heavy sheets like you would get with an aggressive peel, but just flaking. And again, that's the proliferative effect. And it's usually within a matter of a couple days or so. And that's why the enzyme works so well 2 weeks after, because it goes in and it helps to break down any of those proteins that are still kind of hanging there so that the SWiCH can continue to do its thing.
And do you recommend, so you recommended the raspberry, right? Enzyme treatment. Is there, if someone, per se, already has Circadia products, can they do any other? Is that?
I mean, really, that's a great question. Times are fine. It's just that the raspberry is ideal because the raspberry seed powder has a high percentage of azelaic acid. And we're using raspberry seed, not raspberry fruit, because that's where all the azelaic acid is. And that is very effective for helping with pigmentation. So it's a good thing to have in combination with the digestive enzymes that we're using, bromelain, papain, to just help to denature what's at the surface and still hanging on there.
Okay.
But you can use the cocoa, you can use the citrus, the raspberry is just the best option for aging and pigmentation.
Okay. Wow.
Amazing.
So this has been amazing. Everyone needs to go check out the SWiCH treatment. You guys can see the before and afters that we achieved right on our feed and in our Instagram reel. And we still have one more thing coming up to feature about the SWiCH treatment. So stay tuned on the Lip Gloss and Aftershave Instagram and Facebook to see these amazing results. If you guys have any questions, again, you can send a DM directly to Circadia and they will get back to you. Or if you want more hands-on and the experience that we've had with it personally, you guys can send Lip Gloss and Aftershave a DM and we will get in conversation with you. We're excited.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
and Jenny,
you.
I don't know if this is a shameless plug, but we've got a great customer service team. If people are looking right now, they say, hey, that's something I need in my spa. I need this in my life. Or if you've used it before and you're kind of getting back to things again, it's still an incredible tried and true service for a lot of our clients. We are offering a special.
Oh, we love a special.
Michael, where'd you go?
We lost Michael's volume.
We lost Michael's volume.
Nope, still lost. I don't know. Well, Circadia is offering a special, and they have that amazing customer service team. So if you do reach out to the customer service team, you can definitely do that today. They have, Michael, can you hear me? You have no minimum orders, correct? You have no minimum on the order. So you're gonna have to call them. Circadia has no order on their minimum, but we lost Michael's audio. So Jenny, should we just call it a day?
Yeah, listen, we made it 30 minutes, you guys. Send any questions right to Circadia and they will get you all the special information.
Oh my God, he's gonna write it on a whiteboard. Wait. He looks like he's doing a special on the free raspberry enzyme with the purchase of a SWiCH.
Perfect, Circadia team.
Free raspberry enzyme with the purchase of a SWiCH. Call them today. You can get their phone number from their Instagram page, and they have no minimum. So just call and order the SWiCH and get your free raspberry enzyme. Sorry about that, Michael.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.